Station.
Today marks 24 years since a 16-year-old girl, Lo'Eshe Lacy in Oakland, was senselessly killed by bullets that were not meant for her. Since that tragic loss, the teen's father has been spreading the message of love life. That father, Donald Lacy, joins us now to share his ongoing fight to end violence in Oakland. Donald, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, Donald, you've pioneered the phrase "love life," which has now become a motto for the city of Oakland. What's the meaning behind it?
Well, it's actually the English meaning of my daughter's name, which is Lo'Eshe, which is Igbo and Nigerian. And I gave her the name because I delivered her in a car on 580 freeway while I was driving. In fact, on her birth certificate, it says place of birth of 580 freeway. And she was an incredible human being. She was a conflict resolution mediator, McClymonds. She was just a bright light. And actually, the Love Life Foundation was her idea. A few months before she was murdered, a friend of hers was murdered, and she asked me to help her write a play about stopping violence. And unfortunately, she was killed a few months later, and we produced the play a couple of years after her death with students from 4 different Oakland high schools. And I'm just amazed at the impact her spirit has made on the world. And, you know, this is a horrible day for me and my family and all of her friends. But the night she was killed 24 years ago, you know, I was very upset and enraged. And all I wanted was to find out who did it. And I was in Los Angeles when it happened. And I was going to drive back to Oakland that night, but my best friend in the world, comedian Laura Hayes, her and her husband, sat with me all night and watched over me. And I was calling everybody trying to find out what happened. And the last person I talked to was her grandmother, her great-grandmother, my grandmother, who lived to be almost 102. And she told me what the devil meant for evil, God was going to turn to good. And how prophetic was her words. And right at that moment, I remembered what my daughter had taught me, that she wanted to take her pain and grief for her friend and do something positive. So I put the word out on the streets. I didn't want any retaliation. I wanted to establish a legacy to honor her life and to spread love in the community. And yeah. And that's what we've done. And now the Love Life, the English meaning of her name, is the official motto of Oakland. Every entering Oakland sign says Love Life. And not just for her, I might add, it's for anyone who has been murdered. We have to try to change the climate of violence that exists in our city and in America especially. And what better way to just remind people that life is a precious gift and we need to treat each other with love and respect.
Absolutely. Donald, I'd like to just say that we are so sorry for your loss. She was clearly a very, very beautiful girl with such a beautiful name, and a name that really literally resonates through the city and the minds and hearts of so many people, whether they've lost a loved one or a child or not. So I can definitely feel your pain, despite, you know, 24 years having passed. No amount of time really alleviates that pain, and just seeing you get choked up about it is evidence of that. So hopefully the Love Life campaign, you know, continues to spread the word and pass her legacy on. Again, she seems like, just by, you know, the way you described how she started the, you know, the organization for her friend, she seemed like she also had a very, very big heart. So I'm really happy that we are able to speak with you today about her and the campaign. Donald, it's been more than 20 years since your daughter's tragic death, but to this day it seems like the violence in Oakland is unfortunately only getting worse. What do you think needs to be done to kind of buckle down on that trend and really try to reduce what, you know, the Love Life campaign is trying so hard to, you know, kind of eliminate?
That's a great question, and let me just say I don't claim to know all the answers or even most of them. But one thing I do know is that the easy accessibility and availability of firearms is part of the problem. But as much as I hate to agree with, you know, the NRA people, one thing they say is true. A gun can sit on a table for 1,000 years and not affect or shoot or kill anybody. You know, it's the person pulling the trigger. So why is America one of the most violent gun murder capitals of the world? We have more murder by handgun than just about any country. I think a big part of the problem is the culture of violence. We sell violence 24/7. We salute violence. We even make jokes about violence. So people who react violently are constantly inundated with violent imagery. So a friend of mine likes to say, everybody knows McDonald's sells hamburgers, but every day they remind you to go get one. And that's what we need to do with another message. No, violence isn't okay. We need to love people. We need to stop using the B word, the N word, or whatever words to describe individuals and objectifying women. And it's a cultural, deep-rooted sickness, really. I don't know how else to describe it. So when you constantly hear in the music, on the movies, on the television, everywhere you go, it's okay to kill somebody. It's not okay. You know, we're all human beings, and this is not just a racial thing. To me, there's only one race, the human race. So how is we can, hopefully, intelligent people figure out ways to deal with this violence issue in a way that benefits all of us? And a lot of the violence that occurs in the Black community is because of the economic depravity, the lack of opportunity. So people feel they have to resort to the underground way of making a living, which causes a lot of violence. So there's a lot of real systemic issues that have to be addressed, and those are long-term solutions. But in the short term, it's what my daughter stood for. She was a conflict resolution mediator. When students would have beef in the climates, be they white, red, brown, Black, whatever, she had the amazing ability to bring people together to talk about whatever the difference was. We have to get back to talking. One of the greatest men, or the greatest man I ever met, was my dad, and he used to always say, no solution to any problem can happen unless you have a discussion first. So we need to bring back conflict resolution mediation. And we need to give people hope. You know, we need to care as a city, right? I mean, as of Monday, there were 113 murders in Oakland, and we're only on October 20th. That is a tragedy. That is such a plague upon our city, and we all have to do better. We all have to do better. I have to do better. But we have to start, in answer to your question, the most immediate thing we can do is change the culture of violence. And how do we do that? By sending out another message of love, unity, hope, you know, and whatever else we can do as human beings to say that murder and violence is not acceptable and we won't tolerate it anymore.
I mean, we definitely agree with you on that. Donald, there is a news conference happening at noon in about a half an hour or so at the spot of your daughter's death. Talk to us about what the purpose behind that event really is.
Well, it's a way to just say a dear friend of mine, Dear Allums, who lost his son recently, he does these all the time. And we go to the spot where someone said somebody died here. We need to care. The sad part about it is we're losing so many lives in Oakland that it's almost become passe or blasé to people. It's not. And also to honor all victims of violence. That's what the love, it's not just about my daughter, it's for anybody. There'll be other parents like me there who have had their child murdered. And it's a way of putting our arms around each other and supporting each other on this, the worst day of my life. And you know, to support them on those days. When you lose a child, you know, the hardest days or the anniversary of the death, the birthdays, the holidays. I mean, my daughter loved Christmas. I remember when she was about 5 years old, I dressed up as Santa Claus and gave away toys to all the kids in the neighborhood. Her thing was all, her thing was always what she could do to help. There was an assembly when they came back to school the summer after her friend is killed, and the principal was about to adjourn the assembly. And she stood up and she said, "Excuse me, Mr. Hamilton, but nobody mentioned our friend James Valerie, who was killed over the summer. Can we have a moment of silence for her?" And to me, that just exhibits her spirit. It wasn't always about her. It was about everybody else. You know, her cousins, my nieces, their father abandoned them when they were young. And whenever I would take her to places like Great America, you know, she would always wait till the last minute and say, "Daddy, can Elma, Juanita, and Maria go too?" And she would look at me with those big, beautiful eyes. And even though it wasn't in my budget to take those extra 3 to Great America, guess what? I had to take them because that's who she was. She was always, you know, and my niece told me a few months ago, she said, you know, you were her father, but you were our father too. And that was because of her. And that's just who she is. Her spirit was always about unifying and helping. So I'm praying that that spirit of camaraderie, of unity, of collective love and responsibility will come back to Oakland so we can start cherishing life instead of so wantonly and easily taking life.
Well, Donald, our thoughts and our prayers and our hearts are with you and with the families of people, you know, so many people that have lost a family member, whether it was an intentional bullet or not, on such a difficult day. And again, that event is coming up in about 30 minutes or so. We're going to have information on that event on our website at KRONon.com.
Can I add one more thing? Can we ask that you guys spread and everyone spread Sunday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, and we're letting people know all around the world. We're asking everybody to just take 1 minute of silent prayer meditation for all victims of violence and murder. And we ask it's a powerful thing, and let's all join in. Thank you so much. And thank my dear friend Pam Moore, who I just love dearly.
I will definitely send your appreciation over to her, and we really appreciate you kind of taking time out of your day to talk to us about the campaign event today and talk to us about the beautiful life that your daughter lived and clearly the impact of her life we still feel today. Thank you so much for joining us, Donald.
God bless you. Thank you. Love life.
You're watching KRONon. We'll have more news for you after the break.